Today we have a battle of the titans, the super rare 1972 Kawasaki Z1 versus the 1976 Kawasaki Z1 900. Wait, now, hold on a minute. What do you say? These model years do not exist? And you are absolutely correct. The actual model year for this bike is 1973. And this, being a 1976, is not a Z1, but rather a KZ900. This is a very common mistake when referring to these bikes, and I will touch on that right now. So, as I said earlier, this was a 1972 Kawasaki Z1 900, and yes, a lot of you nitpickers will say, well, Peter, there was no 1972, so what on earth are you talking about? And you're right, the model year for this bike is actually 1973. The reason some Z1 enthusiasts refer to it as a 72 is because this is an earlier production model that was manufactured in 1972. And the reason why they refer to it as a 72 despite being a 73 model year is because the earlier models had a few differences compared to the later production run for the 73 model year. A couple of these small differences included this kind of embossing or hump, as well as the carburetors. If you looked, there's no webbing down in here. These are just two of the more notable differences on the quote 72 Z1. And now as we move over to the quote 76 Z1, you're correct by the side badging by reading this is not a Z1 but rather a KZ900. The reason why some enthusiasts still refer to this as a Z1 is actually rather simple. The VIN number on both the engine and on the frame still says Z1. Another really cool feature on the 76 KZ, which was a Canadian feature and possibly in Europe too, I'm not certain, was the four-way flasher switch. So again, for all you nitpickers out there, yes, this is a 1973 model year, and this is a 1976 KZ900, not Z1 900. There's a lot of distinct differences with these bikes. I'm not going to get into all of them. I'm not a Z1 expert, and I will never claim to be. But I figured I'll just point out a few since I happen to have these two bikes here. Starting off, obviously, as mentioned, the 72's got the kind of the hump on the front of the fork tube there. The brake rotors have 6 bolts on the Z1 compared to the KZ only having 4 bolts. The front of the frame on the KZ is much more beefy, more robust. If you come over to the Z1, you can see it just doesn't quite have the same amount of reinforcing as the KZ. Obviously the Z1's got the black cylinders and cases. The carburetors are different. The standard quote 73 through 75 Z1s had a small little webbing there. The KZ itself has different carbs altogether. The gauges are another very distinct difference between a Z1 and a KZ. A little bit more of a modern digital type looking display there compared to the Z1. The tails on these bikes are also a dead giveaway. Main difference is the KZ having the square tail light versus the oval tail light on the Z1. The Z1 also has a thinner rib compared to the KZ. The rear brake hub on the Z1, it's nice, bare and polished. The KZ has the brake wear indicator as seen right there. Another difference with the fork tubes, obviously Z1 having the reflector built right in. For the KZ, if you come over, bare fork tube with the reflector attached to the frame. Well, two good indications to tell if you've got an original 73 Z1 tank versus the KZ tank. The gas cap. As you can see, the KZs have the locking gas cap, whereas the standard Z1 is not a lock at all, just a little cam mechanism. Along the bottom here, you'll see the pinch weld is towards the inside, where the KZ pinch weld runs along the outside. Another thing you'll find is the seat latch on the Z1. Again, no locking mechanism, just a manual lever, versus the KZ. Again, similar to the gas cap, has key lock. The air boxes also very, very different. The KZ's got this more cylindrical filter. The Z1 has, again, a cylindrical filter, but just totally different design. Hand controls again on the Z1, very different. If you see here, take a quick look at these controls. Even the clutch lever, it's been more of a, I don't want to say flimsy, but for lack of better words, flimsy. It's thin up here. If you go over to the KZ, you can see different controls, different master cylinder. And if you go to the clutch lever, much thicker, robust design. At the end of the day, is this a 72? Is it a 73? Is this a KZ? Is it a Z1? Does it really matter what designation you use, other than the fact that we are all enthusiasts? Personally, I couldn't care less. If we're all enthusiasts and we're all in it together, keeping this hobby alive, you're okay in my books. Till always, everybody, ride safe.